I was knee-deep in mulch, the kind that smells like earth and second chances, when a scream sliced through the dawn. It wasn't just any scream, it was sharp, wild, like someone had just realized GRAVY wasn't their friend. Then came a metallic zing, followed by a splash so loud it could have woken the dead. I looked up from my pepper patch just in time to see a woman in a glittering silver gown soaring above my fields, clutching a zipline handle in one hand and a clutch purse in the other. She looked like a runaway pageant queen, all sparkle and chaos, until she plummeted into a kiddie pool I'd set up at the landing zone. Water erupted like a volcano, drenching the crowd below and sending her tiara sailing into my lavender bushes. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. A phone hit the dirt. A kid wailed. Me? I just took a slow sip of my coffee and muttered the words I'd been holding onto for weeks. Told you not to zip over my land. My name's Tom. I'm not one for grudges. I live on 12 acres of rolling hills in Willow Creek, a quiet stretch of Oregon my family's held since the 1940s. I grow heirloom peppers, tend to my goats, and keep to myself. My land is my sanctuary, my slice of peace in a world that's always shouting. That is, until the new neighborhood association president moved in next door. Her name was Miranda, and if you're picturing a woman with a designer sun hat, a tablet glued to her hand, and a voice that could strip varnish off a table, you're already halfway there. She rolled into our sleepy community 6 months ago, acting like she'd bought the whole valley. It started small fancy solar lanterns lining the public paths, then speed humps on our gravel roads. But when she erected a 3-story pergola that blared pop anthems at 6 a.m., I knew we were in for trouble. The real madness kicked off when Miranda decided to build Zipline. Not some backyard toy, but a full-on, steel-cabled beast that stretched from her rooftop deck over the property line, across my pepper fields, and ended at a splash pad by her pool. I spotted the first anchor bolt drilled into one of my cedar trees and thought it was a joke. No one in their right mind would string a thrill ride over someone else's land without a word. Right? Wrong. The next morning, I heard shrieks and the hum of cables. Her cousins were zipping across, filming it all with action cameras strapped to their heads. I marched over to her deck, ready to talk sense. She answered the door, glitter on her face and a cocktail in hand. I told her, calm as I could, that her zip line was trespassing and needed to go. She didn't even flinch. "Oh, Tom," she said, smirking, "don't be so uptight. It's just airspace. The neighborhood loves it." I told her I didn't care if the governor loved it. Hat cedar was mine, and so was the sky above my peppers. She scoffed, muttered about grumpy old farmers, and shut the door in my face. From there, my farm turned into a circus. A sandal fell from the sky and clipped my ear. One zipliner lost their lunch mid-flight, splattering my goat pen. A teenager got stuck halfway across, dangling over my windmill for an hour until Miranda's brother fished him down with a pool skimmer. I tried talking to her again, but she'd just flash that same smug grin and say, "Lighten up, Tom. Your peppers are famous now theory in every VY Deo." Famous? She was monetizing my land, racking up VYUs on her VY Ral VY Deo series, Sky Miranda, with my fields as the backdrop. No permission, no credit, no nothing. Then came her practice gala, a stunt for her online brand. She zipped over my land in that silver gown, tossing confetti midair, and landed in a kiddie pool filled with blue glitter water. Half of it splashed onto my compost heap, which now reeked like a discount perfume shop. That was it. I'd had enough. I called the neighborhood association and filed a complaint. They shrugged, saying the zip line started and ended on our property, so it wasn't their problem. I showed them a Survey Pro VYing the line across my land. They ignored it. Turns out, Miranda was cozy with the zoning chair, Ethan, her boyfriend. Frustrated, I put up no trespassing signs, set up trail cams, and even built a scarecrow in the zipline's path, hoping to scare off riders. Miranda? She turned it into content, dressing the scarecrow in a sequin dress and calling it my dream date in a VY Deo that blew up online. The comments tore me apart. Users like SkyFan22 and Miranda Forever mocked me mercilessly. My blood boiled. Then a zipliner crashed into my greenhouse, shattering 2 windows and crushing a row of pepper plants. I handed Miranda a bill for the damage. She sent it back with a lipstick kiss and LOL scrawled across it. This wasn't just personal Anna Maria, it was war. I hired a surveyor to map my property lines. The report was crystal clear. The zipline crossed 20 feet into my land, and the anchor was illegally bolted into my tree. I sent Miranda a cease and desist letter. She framed it and hung it on her patio like a trophy. That's when I started planning. Not out of spite, but principle. I wanted to make sure no one ever dared fly over my land again. I didn't want to hurt her, just make it unforgettable. So I waited. I let her plan her big sky gala, inviting the association board, influencers, and a drone crew. I let her think she'd won. While she practiced her mid-air poses, I set up a kiddie pool filled with biodegradable orange dye, rigged with motion sensor sprinklers. I also crafted a timed release for the anchor, designed to unhook gently under stress, right at the zipline's midpoint. It was safe but humiliating. The day came. Miranda, in her glittering gown, zipped across with her usual cackle, arms flung wide like she owned the sky. I stood in my field, pretending to water my carrots. At the halfway mark, the anchor released. The line went slack. Miranda dropped like a startled goose, shrieking as she flopped into the orange water. The crowd froze. The music cut. The drones captured every second. I tipped my cap, looked at the cameras, and grinned. When someone turns your land into their playground, sometimes you let the star of the show take a dive. The fallout was instant. As Miranda sputtered in the pool, her guests scrambled some to help, most to film. By noon, the clip was everywhere, titled Miranda's Splash of Karma. The comments were brutal, tearing into her entitlement. But Miranda wasn't one to slink away. That night, a knock came at my door. It was Paul, a nervous association rep in a wrinkled polo, clutching a clipboard. Miranda had filed a complaint, claiming I'd sabotaged her zipline, caused public shame, and endangered her guests. I asked Paul if he'd seen the VY Deo. He had. I pointed out the kiddie pool cushioned her fall. No one was hurt. He nodded, but said Miranda demanded action. She had pull, and people either bent or got pushed out. I handed him the survey showing her zipline's illegal path. He skimmed it, mumbled about escalating it, and left. I knew who he meant: Ethan, Miranda's boyfriend, the zoning chair who acted like he ran the county. Ethan was the type who wore a VY Aiders indoors and called himself VYC chair, like he was running a small country. We'd clashed before when he tried to find me for my goats bleeding at 5:59 a.m. 1 minute before the rules allowed. I showed him the rule book, and he backed off, but not without a glare. A day later, a sign appeared on my fence, association boundary, no unauthorized active VY tie. I tore it down. 2 more appeared. I removed those 2. Then came a letter from a shady legal firm, claiming I was under investigation for unlicensed hazards. The nerve Miranda, who'd turned my land into her stunt course, was accusing me of endangering the neighborhood. I stopped playing nice. I filed a county complaint, complete with photos, the survey, and a log of every VY olation from the greenhouse damage to the confetti ruining my crops. I even included screenshots of Miranda's VY Deos where she bragged about borrowing Tom's sky. She wasn't just bold, she was begging for consequences. While waiting for the county's response, I rallied the neighbors. Most had stayed quiet, too scared or indifferent to challenge Miranda. But the VY Deo had shifted things. People were fed up. Clara, a retired nurse who'd been fined for planting roses, brought me a binder of Miranda's association VY olations, with dates and receipts. Miguel, a quiet mechanic, admitted she'd strung a zip line over his garage without asking. They were done with her reign. We didn't fight dirty, we fought smart. Miguel had a buddy in the zoning office who confirmed Miranda's zipline permit was expired and filed for the wrong address. Clara drafted a letter demanding an association audit, citing conflicts of interest with Miranda and Ethan. I upgraded my drone to 1 with 4K VY Deo and night VY Shown. Within days, I had footage of late-night zipline rides, kids sneaking onto my land for photos, and Ethan trying to rebolt the anchor at 2 a.m. with a flashlight between his teeth. It was gold. Miranda, clueless, planned her next stunt. Sky Serenity Sundays, promising Zen glides over my land. Flyers went up, and the neighborhood groaned. Even her fans were tiring of the circus. When the county inspector arrived, Miranda greeted him with cupcakes and a smile that could melt plastic. I met him with a folder, footage, statements, and a clear message. This isn't drama. It's about my land, safety, and her abuse of power. He nodded, already briefed by Miguel's friend. After a tour, he handed Miranda a citation for an unpermitted structure crossing private property. She went pale, but wasn't done. She filed a restraining order against me, claiming harassment. A deputy showed up, informing me to stay 50 feet from her house. I pointed out my land starts at 48 feet. Miranda doubled down, live streaming about being VY Timized by a bitter farmer. She even claimed my peppers were unsanitary. The VY Deo backfired. Commenters mocked her pool landings and called her out for exploiting the neighborhood. Sky Miranda trended, but not in her favor. The audit Clara requested got approved, and Ethan started unraveling, ditching his VY aiders and avoiding meetings. Miranda went quiet, but I knew better. A neighbor tipped me off. She was planning a Sky Gala Redux, a massive stunt with drones, a string quartet, and a new Zipline. She wasn't backing down. She was escalating. I watched her yard like a hawk. She and Ethan were out there daily, measuring cables, barking at workers. She even rented a crane to reinforce her deck. It was like she was staging a Hollywood blockbuster. But she didn't know I had an inside man. Jake, a young worker she'd hired, showed up at my door, twitchy and whispering like he was in a spy, MOVYE. He said Miranda told him to bolt a new anchor into my cedar again. When he mentioned trespassing, she laughed. It's just Tom. He'll grumble and give up. Jake, whose family farmed almonds, wasn't VYing it. He handed me a flash drive with VY Deos, including one of Miranda ordering her crew to dig holes in my soil for cable stabilizers. That wasn't just trespassing, it was vandalism. I didn't sabotage this time. I'd learned my lesson. Instead, I sent Jake's footage to the county and a local news tip line. I filed another cease and desist, backed by a fresh survey. Every move was legal, every document triple-checked. 2 days before her gala, Miranda posted a teaser. Dramatic music, slow-motion Zipline clips, and text proclaiming, July 15th, the Sky Empress returns. A commenter asked about land permission. She replied, the skies for everyone, winking face with domed. Classic Miranda. The night before, I patrolled my land, checking cameras and signs that read, no trespassing, private property. Jake had slipped me her blueprint, labeled Operation Sky Rain. She'd angled the zipline to skim my land's edge, thinking I wouldn't notice. She was wrong. Gala Day arrived, and Willow Creek buzzed like a festival. Cars clogged the streets, chairs lined the paths, and someone set up a snow cone stand. I sat on my porch with binoculars and iced tea, watching the chaos. At 1 p.m., Miranda emerged in a bedazzled gown, veil shimmering like a disco ball, wearing pilot goggles. Ethan clipped her harness, and they counted down. 3, 2, 1. She leapt. But Miranda hadn't counted on the county's speed. As she zipped over my land, a county truck rolled up. 2 officers stepped out, one with a clipboard, the other with a camera. They watched her glide, ignoring the cease and desist. When she landed in her splash pad, covered in glitter, the officers marched over. The clipboard guy asked her name. She confirmed it, still grinning. He handed her a summons for VY violating property laws, ignoring a legal order, and building an unpermitted structure. Her smile vanished. Ethan flailed, claiming a mix-up, but the second officer played Jake's VY Deo, Miranda's voice booming. It's just Tom. The crowd went silent. It was perfect. The officers didn't arrest her, but ordered the zipline dismantled within 48 hours or face fines. Miranda stood there, dripping and speechless, goggles fogged with defeat. I raised my tea in a quiet toast and walked inside. Justice had arrived, no kiddie pool required. The next 2 days were a blur. Miranda's yard became a demolition site, cables tangled, workers cursing, her fairy lights gone. The county meant business, and her neighbor's stares had shifted from awe to pity. She wasn't the Sky Empress anymore, just the woman who got served mid-zip. But Miranda wasn't done. 2 days later, an envelope appeared under my doormat, sealed with a star sticker. Inside was an invite to a community healing picnic at the Willow Creek Commons. It promised food, music, and public reconciliation. The last line read, "Dress for acknowledgement." It screamed PR stunt. She wanted me there to play the VY lane in her redemption arc. If I skipped it, she'd spin it. If I went, she'd use it. I decided to go, but on my terms. I met with Clara, Miguel, and others in Miguel's shed, surrounded by his welding gear. We didn't plan a fight. We planned truth. We'd bring EVY densa photos, VY deos, statements, and share it calmly. No drama. The picnic was a pastel nightmare balloon arches, fake VY nests, a food truck slinging Sky Empress milkshakes. Miranda, in a white dress and headset mic, hugged people like a politician. Ethan lingered nearby, quieter now, his VY aiders gone. I walked in with folders, nodding at neighbors who gave me wary smiles. Miranda spotted me and practically sang, "Tom's here. See, we're all family." I shrugged and said, "Just here for the sliders." She laughed too hard, then whispered, "Let's keep it friendly, okay?" I nodded and moved on. An hour in, she clinked her glass and gave a speech dripping with fake warmth. She preached about forgy VYing misunderstandings and embracing Creati VY tie, never naming me, but hinting he VYLY at some who resist progress. Then she called me out. "Tom, got anything to say?" She expected me to freeze or snap. Instead, I stepped up, opened my folder, and read, "Dates, damages, violation citations." I kept my voice steady, showing photos of broken windows, ruined crops, and her illegal anchor. The crowd shifted, remembering their own run-ins with her fines for petty things, rewritten rules, a community mural that was just her face in mosaic. I thanked everyone and sat down. Miranda clutched her glass, betrayed by her own stage. The picnic fizzled. Neighbors swapped stories, formed groups, and ignored her. Clara shared her audit papers. Miguel passed out violation logs. Miranda's empire was crumbling, not with a bang, but a whisper. I left as the sun dipped, passing the spot where her zipline once crossed. The grass was green again, quiet. But I knew Miranda. She'd try one last stunt. Weeks passed, silent and sweet, but too calm. I checked cameras, walked my land with my dog, Rusty, waiting for her next move. Then a package Aravedno sender, just a framed photo of Miranda mid-zip, captioned, "Thanks for the Sky Tea." I laughed. 3 neighbors got the same photo, including Clara and a baker who'd never met Miranda. It was her petty jab, but it flopped. The community had moved on. Ethan quit the association after his midnight wrench antics went VY row. Clara's audit passed, stripping Miranda's power. She was a figurehead now, while VYing from the sidelines. But Miranda couldn't resist. Soon, her yard buzzed again on a zipline, but an aerial silk rig, fabric strips dangling just inches from my land. Legal barely. She called it Harmony Skies Yoga, inviting influencers for glittery spins. Neighbors groaned. A dog panicked at her confetti cannons. A rope snapped, dunking a woman into Miranda's fountain. The VY Deo went VY row. Pro-VYing, she'd learned nothing. The association met, and even her allies turned. Her legacy was imploding. I didn't fight back. Instead, I built a fence 12 feet of cedar, lined with blackberry VY nests. I filed permits, got approvals, and neighbors helped. Clara brought iced tea, Miguel his tools, a shy teen his playlist. It wasn't just a fence, it was a statement. When I saw Miranda at the mailbox, she looked drained, her fire dimmed. She mumbled a greeting, and I nodded. We weren't friends or foe, just neighbors. DVY dead by cedar and a saga. My peppers thrived, the skies clear of her stunts. I opened a roadside stand selling eggs and strawberries. People asked about the fence's sign, "No flights here." Some knew the story. Others laughed and bought extra. At dusk, when the wind hums, I sometimes hear a faint zip, like Miranda's ghost still clinging to her crown. I tip my cap and whisper, "Stay grounded." So what do you think? Was I too harsh? Or did Miranda deserve that orange plunge wake-up call? Should neighbors bend for community fun? Or is land sacred? And what's the wildest thing you've seen a neighbor pull? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll make you laugh, gasp, and maybe check your own fence line.